Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into one of the trickiest questions in farming. If you stop plowing, how in the world do you stop the weeds? It's a huge challenge, so let's get right into it.
Right? I mean, this is the big one. For literally centuries, plowing has been the #1 way to get rid of weeds. So when you decide to take that tool out of the toolbox, you'd better have a really good plan B.
And this picture, wow, this says it all. If you do nothing, the weeds will absolutely take over. They just choke out the crops, stealing all the sunlight, the water, the nutrients. And this isn't just ugly, it's a direct hit to a farmer's yield and livelihood. So, what do? Okay, so here's the key mindset shift. You're not just fighting the weeds you can see. The real, long-term battle is against the millions, sometimes billions, of weed seeds just sitting dormant in the soil. That's what we call the weed seed bank. And the whole game is about making that bank go broke.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at how you can actually fight weeds with other plants. Then, we'll get into specific strategies for draining that weed seed bank. After that, we'll talk about using sprays smarter, not harder. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together in one integrated system. All right, let's kick things off with what is honestly one of the coolest solutions, using nature against itself. This is all about making the local ecology your biggest ally in the fight.
And the heroes of this story are cover crops. Now, you don't grow these to sell them. Their entire job is to cover the ground, to protect it, and build up the soil. But as it turns out, they're also weed-fighting superstars.
So how do they do it? Well, it's like a full-on assault. First, they just out-hustle the weeds for light and water. Then, they form this thick mat that literally smothers any little weeds trying to poke through. And get this, some of them even release natural chemicals. It's a process called allelopathy that basically act as a natural herbicide. And just how effective is this? Well, check this out. A recent study from Cornell found that if you use the right cover crops at the right time, you can cut down weed growth by up to 99%. No, that's not a typo. 99%. That's just incredible.
And this is what success looks like. You can see the new crop, in this case lupins, just pushing right up through the residue of last year's plants. The ground is totally covered, so there's just no space, no light, no opportunity for weeds to even get started. It's a perfect, clean start for the crop.
Okay, strategy number 2. This is where we shift from just managing this season's weeds to proactively attacking that seed bank for the long haul. This is about thinking years, not just months, ahead. One of the sneakiest ways to do this is called the stale seed bed technique, and it's pretty brilliant. You basically trick the weeds. You get the field ready for planting weeks early, you give it a little water, and you encourage a whole bunch of weeds to sprout. Then, just before you plant your real crop, you wipe them all out. Your crop then gets to grow in a totally clean field.
Here's another great tactic. They call it brown manuring. A farmer like Jamie Grant out in Queensland will grow a thick cover crop, maybe something like millet. But then, and this is the key, he terminates it before it can create its own seeds. What's left is this amazing, thick blanket of mulch that smothers weeds, all without adding new seeds to the problem.
Now, for a more direct approach, there's narrow windrow burning. What happens here is, during the harvest, all the chaff and weed seeds get funneled into these tight little rows instead of being spread all over. Then later, as you can see in this photo from farmer Warwick Holding, they burn those rows. It's like a surgical strike that just incinerates a massive amount of the weed seeds produced that year. So that brings us to our third big strategy, herbicides. Look, in a no-till system, spraying is often part of the picture. But it's not about spraying more. It's about being incredibly smart and precise with it. It's about precision over power. So let's look at the difference. The old way might be a single spray. The problem? You risk leaving a few super tough survivors who then go on to create herbicide-resistant babies. The double knock approach, which guys like Warwick Holding use, is a 1-2 punch. The first spray gets most of them, and then a second, different spray comes through a week later to clean up any stragglers. It is a fantastic way to fight resistance.
And that's all part of this bigger philosophy. You gotta rotate your herbicide so the weeds never see the same thing twice. You use products that stick around in the soil for a bit to stop new weeds. You spray when the weeds are small and weak. And maybe most important of all, you're always out there walking the field, scouting, looking for trouble before it starts.
And you know, technology is a huge piece of this puzzle. This quote from Jamie Grant just nails it. Tech like the Weed Seeker has optical sensors that literally see weeds, so instead of spraying a whole field, it only sprays the plant itself. It means he can use the right stuff at the right rate only where it's needed. It saves a fortune, and it's so much better for the land.
Okay, so we've talked about plants fighting plants, about draining the seed bank, and about smarter spraying. Now for the final and most important part, how you put every single one of those things together.
And this is probably the biggest lesson of all. There's no one magic answer. There is no silver bullet. The only way to win in a no-till system is by layering all these different tactics on top of each other so the weeds are always off balance.
And this is what we call the Integrated Weed Management, or IWM Toolbox. It's got everything we've covered: crop rotations, cover crops, seed bank strategies, smart spraying, precision tech. It's about having a whole bunch of different tools and, crucially, knowing which one to pull out at the right time.
And that is the beautiful result. A clean field, ready to go for the next crop, with all that precious soil moisture saved. You don't get a field that looks like this with one trick. This is the result of a thoughtful, multi-year, multi-tactic plan.
And the final piece of wisdom is this: a good plan is never set in stone. It has to be alive. It has to be dynamic. Farmers have to constantly be out there, watching, learning, and tweaking the strategy based on what the field is telling them.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. Are we always going to be chasing that next perfect single solution? Or is the real future of farming about embracing the complexity and focusing our energy on building a bigger, better, more diverse toolbox? From everything we're seeing, it sure looks like the toolbox is the way to go. Thanks so much for watching.